Today, Elon Musk defies officials in California and makes a threat to leave the state entirely. Plus, a first for the Federal Reserve as the central bank steps into a new market. And we hear from Dr. Fauci on how we should approach reopening the economy. I'm MacKenzie Sigalos, and this is CNBC After Hours, Work From Home edition. Let's take a look at the scoreboard. Stocks posted ugly losses today after holding up well in recent sessions, even gaining ground after that really scary unemployment data that we got last Friday. The Nasdaq, a tech-heavy index, finished lower for the first time in 7 days. One stock that bucked the trend today, GrubHub. The food delivery company surged 29% higher today. More on that in just a minute. All right, and now for three of today's biggest developments in the global coronavirus pandemic. First, National Institute of Health official and White House Coronavirus Task Force member Dr. Anthony Fauci testified on Capitol Hill today. Well, sort of. Yes, he did testify before the Senate, along with the head of the CDC and FDA, but he did so virtually. He's self-quarantining after coming into contact with a White House staffer who tested positive for COVID-19. In the hearing, Fauci warned the public about the danger of reopening the economy too soon without following the White House guidelines. He also commented on the reality facing the nation's colleges.
The idea of having treatments available or a vaccine to facilitate the re-entry of students into the fall term would be something that would be a bit of a bridge too far.
And second, as ride-sharing takes a hit from COVID-19, Uber looks to be doubling down on its food delivery business. Uber has made an offer to buy GrubHub, according to a CNBC source. Uber has rapidly grown its own delivery service, Uber Eats. This was actually a bright spot in the company's first quarter earnings report, as its core business, ride-sharing, fell drastically in the wake of the coronavirus outbreak. And it may be a forward-looking move. A bigger food delivery operation may be wise if more people are staying inside their homes for months to come instead of ride-sharing to bars, restaurants, sporting events, or concerts. Now, if Uber and GrubHub did combine, the merger would bring together two of the biggest players in the food delivery space and turn up the heat on competitors Postmates and DoorDash. Finally, history in the making today. The Federal Reserve began buying corporate bond ETFs, or exchange-traded funds. These are like baskets of assets, in this case, corporate debt. It's the first time ever that the Federal Reserve has purchased ETFs, and buying them is a faster way to get money into the system than if the Fed bought individual bonds issued by corporations. This corporate debt buying program is part of the Federal Reserve's massive lending program announced in March to stabilize the financial markets and keep private investors like institutions and individuals like you and me still invested throughout this pandemic crisis. Now, we don't want to get too in the weeds here, but we do want you to know that it's a really big deal. Here are two great Twitter accounts to follow to make sure you don't miss a single development in the Fed's historic program. CNBC's Steve Leisman and Jeff Cox. Okay, let's get to our sound check. Here's a roundup of the day's biggest action and what the top newsmakers and business leaders had to say on CNBC and NBC News' airwaves today.
We learned this from 2008 to now. Asset inflation does not solve income disparity. It actually doesn't solve full employment. It doesn't do any of the things we needed to do for it to be a robust economy. What it does is allow people who play in the financial markets to make money.
Do you think there might be a major U.S. carrier that just has to go out of business?
Yes, most likely. Something will happen when September comes around. Traffic levels will not be back to 100%. They won't even be back to 25. Maybe by the end of the year, we approach 50. So there will definitely be adjustments that have to be made on the part of the airlines.
You just don't tell the clients that they don't have enough money to do business with you. One of the three of you guys are going to be out of business at year end. I don't know which one. Hey, could be any. No, come on. You're trying. These are customers buying billions of dollars in equipment. The one thing you don't do is say, "What, I'm going under," because that's just not what you do in America.
We've paid our rent in over 80% of our locations in April and May. The remaining locations, we're just in discussions with our landlords in a friendly way and therefore we plan to make whole on our entire obligation. On the collection side, we've collected over 70% of our rents in the month of April, and we are working with small, medium businesses in deferrals, freezing of rents, and different aspects with them.
All right, now we need to talk about Elon Musk. He and Tesla are kind of like the poster children for the fundamental tension around the country right now between getting back to work and containing the spread of coronavirus. Now, Musk has reopened his Tesla factory in Fremont, California, in defiance of local authorities in Alameda County. Production at the factory stopped on March 23rd, after Musk initially resisted the county's order for non-essential businesses to close. Tesla resumed production yesterday, after Musk grew increasingly frustrated that lockdown measures in other parts of California had begun to relax and that the big three automakers in Detroit got the green light to restart production. Now, after learning that the Fremont plant had reopened, the county health department confirmed it had told Tesla the company could maintain, quote, only minimum basic operations. But Elon doesn't seem too worried about what the authorities have to say. In fact, he practically dared the county sheriff to arrest him. Tesla did say it had employee health and safety in mind while reopening, and Musk does have a lot of high-profile people in his corner. CNBC's Jim Cramer says Musk is a great manufacturer and should be allowed to start production again. And President Trump backed Tesla today as well. This entire standoff is taking place against the backdrop of a threat that Musk made over the weekend. He tweeted that the county's delay in getting Tesla's manufacturing back up and running was the final straw, and he would take his talents elsewhere, so to speak. Musk mentioned states like Nevada and Texas. Now, in addition to perhaps being more helpful in this case, those states have other advantages for Elon personally. CNBC's wealth editor Robert Frank crunched some numbers and is here to explain.
So Elon Musk has threatened to move Tesla to either Nevada or Texas, but it just so happens that Texas and Nevada have no income tax. So if he moved his home and tax residency to Texas or Nevada, he would get a massive tax windfall. And that's because he just got this giant compensation program, which he just hit the first target for, and if it pays out in the coming years, could be worth $55 billion. So I took a look at how much money in taxes he would save if he moved from California to Texas or Nevada over the term of that. And it turns out Elon Musk would save up to $7 billion in state income taxes if he moved from California to Texas or Nevada. And part of that is because California has the highest state income tax in the country at 13.3%. I'm not saying this is the reason he's doing it. I'm just saying it would be a very happy benefit if he moved his home and his company to Texas or Nevada. It's also interesting, maybe not a coincidence, that he also announced he's selling all of his homes in California. He just had a baby and he just got the first of this massive compensation package. Remember, before, he didn't collect a salary, so the tax rate didn't matter. Now, all of a sudden it matters, and it looks like he's preparing to move from California. Again, maybe not the reason he's doing all this, but it certainly would be a significant amount of money, even for Elon Musk, if he moved and saved all of those taxes.
Okay, and before we leave, it's time for a numbers round. Today, we dive into some ways the coronavirus lockdown is affecting consumer purchasing habits. Let's kick it off with 11.3. Prices of consumer goods saw their steepest one-month drop since record-keeping started in 1957, according to new data released this morning by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Now, one category that saw the biggest drop is apparel. Prices of men's suits in particular slid 11.3%. Next, 2.9. Even though consumer prices fell dramatically across the board, April did see jumps in food costs as Americans under quarantine were forced to eat more at home. Specifically, prices of cereal and bakery products spiked 2.9% in April, its largest monthly increase on record. And finally, 459. Online sales for podcast equipment surged a staggering 459% in April, according to new data released today from Adobe. Sales of audio mixers, microphones, pop filters, and windscreens all skyrocketed last month, seemingly because high-quality podcast content is easily produced at home without having to clean your entire apartment. That's it for After Hours. Stay up to date in real time with CNBC. Earlier today, Democrats in the House of Representatives unveiled a $3 trillion coronavirus relief bill, but the legislation faces roadblocks in the Senate. Get more details from Capitol Hill and catch every development in this historic battle against coronavirus and the unprecedented economic fallout by going to CNBC.com and downloading the CNBC app. We'll be right here in our home office every Tuesday and Thursday with a new edition of After Hours, so be sure to catch us then. In the meantime, stay healthy, and we'll see you on Thursday.